What's up guys, it's Rowan here from Smart TV, and in this video you're going to learn the pros and cons for individual study versus group study. Which one's going to be better for you, which one is better and more effective for memory retention. I'm going to share based on the research that I've done with thousands of students around Australia. So let's jump in and find out. So let's look at the pros and cons of individual study when you're at home, right? So you're by yourself, there's no one else with you, and you're just doing your study on your own. Now, there are of course a number of pros to this. I think the biggest pro is that you get to set the pace. You get to choose what you need to focus on and when you need to do it. So it's going to be, of course, really wonderfully tailored and personalized for your needs, which is fantastic. It's also particularly good if you're fairly advanced because you can drive the pace. You don't need to be slowed down by other peers that might not understand things and might not be where they need to be. So it's going to enable you to actually, if you're particularly advanced, really move ahead and really do what you need to do. Now, the other thing is if you do have and there's a big if here, and we're going to look at this in the cons, if you've got some really solid study habits in place, you're also going to find this will be highly effective study because it can be less distracting. You'll have less people around you pulling you off and distracting you from what you need to focus on. So it can also be more focused. But that is a big if because you might actually find that that's not the case for you. And that's a really nice sort of transition to the cons of individual study. I think the big con is that it's easy to get distracted. Like you might not have a great study routine. All of a sudden your phone might go and you're on your phone checking out the notification from a friend. The music might go. So you might not actually be particularly focused yourself naturally. And so you'll have no one there to keep you accountable to get the work done if, you're not studying with someone else. So that's one of the really big cons. The other really big con is that it's easy to trick yourself into believing that you're studying. Right, so I could read this and go, awesome, this is my notes, and I've just read to the end of it. Great, I've done heaps of study. But in truth, I could have just zoned out. I could have read this, got to the bottom of the page and been like, what did I just read, right? So what's also a little bit challenging about, this sort of individual study is it's really hard to get a sense on sometimes what you're actually achieving, particularly if you're not necessarily got the best study routine. So there are some cons to be wary of here in that you might not actually do the depth of memory work that you might need to really help you. Now the final con, let's be frank, is that sitting in a room doing study all by yourself can be incredibly boring, right? I know I've been there and I'm just getting the itch, 5 minutes in, I'm checking my phone, I'm starting to get, a little bit the energy's coursing, I want to get up, I want to do something. So, it can just be boring. And if, that's you and you're finding yourself starting to get itchy really, really quickly, it may be that individual study is actually not the right option for you because of that con. Right, so there you have it, pros and cons of individual study. Now what we've got to do is let's do a quick contrast with the pros and cons of group study so that we can work out what's going to be the best strategy that you should implement for your study to make the most of it. So what about the pros and cons of group study? Well, let's start with the pros. The pros are, number one, it's so much more fun than studying by yourself, in your study, just getting work done, right? So it's going to be more fun and enjoyable. Number two, if you're not a super advanced student, it's actually going to be really helpful in when you get stuck, having someone else there as well to help you maybe with a slightly different understanding to explain it. So that's going to be really good. Number three, it's also super powerful from a perspective of memory. It's in fact one of the most powerful ways to build your memory because you've got more levels of repetition as you talk about it, teach someone, they ask you questions, you get feedback, and so forth. All right, so it's going to be more effective from a memory point of view. And the final amazing pro is that at the moment, most of the time you get feedback is actually after an exam. So you do all your study, right? Maybe you get something marked, but it's super painful to get it marked often. So you go into the exam and then you get feedback and maybe it's not great and you can't do anything about it. It sucks, right? So if you teach someone as part of group study, you're getting instantaneous feedback just by the look on their face, whether or not they get it or not. Okay, so you're gonna get instantaneous feedback, which is so powerful as a pro of studying in a group. Now, there are some cons on the flip side, right? The big con is that it can be super distracting, right? You cannot get any study done and just hang out. It can also be, as a major con, that the pace is too slow, too quick. It's not the right pace for you, and so you don't get stuff done at all. And the final con is that you could be stuck with someone that actually doesn't know as much as you, and as a result, you're not getting as much benefit and value from the experience. So there are some cons. So overall, what do? Do you do the individual study, you do the group study? Well, you might have seen this coming all along. The answer is actually there's a role and a place for both types of study. In fact, you should be doing both.
¿Por qué no los dos?
So now, most students will tend to do the individual study, and the bulk of their study will be individual. Maybe 95 to 100% of your study at the moment is individual. And my suggestion is group study has a powerful, powerful role. It's more fun, you're gonna be able to get through it more easily, and you're gonna get that instantaneous feedback loop, and you're gonna get better memory retention. So you at least wanna be moving the ratio to 80-20. 80% individual study, at least 20% group study, and don't wait until the week before an exam. So often I hear students say, I'm gonna do my group study the week before the exam, I'm gonna create a study group. It's so powerful, you wanna try to do it more regularly throughout the term. So if you have any questions about individual or group study and which one and how, and leave it in the comments below. I'd love to help and answer your question. As always, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button, and that way I will see you every single week. Until next week.